Hi folks, I'd just like to start by acknowledging our Prime Minister and Governor-General for being part of this service today, and our outgoing Deputy Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Winston Peters. I think in a sense today is entirely symbolic. Any position in politics is only an opportunity to be good and do good, and I will be judged by how much we deliver for the people of New Zealand, all of the people, those who support ACT and those who don't. However, I also believe that for many people who never ever thought that an ACT leader could be Deputy Prime Minister of New Zealand, there is some significance in the position, and I actually believe that there is some significance for our country if we can overcome the enormous challenges that ACT and myself have faced over the years to be here today. Then I believe that our whole country and anyone can overcome the challenges that they face, and to feel a moment of success before carrying on with the hard work. In that sense, if I've proved anything, it's that anyone can dance. Not always that well, but well enough to earn people's respect and give a lot of entertainment along the way. I'm happy to take any questions.
What does today mean for yourself personally and for your family as well, becoming Deputy Prime Minister?
Oh, look, some of my family are here, and I think they're really proud to be part of it. I'm very, very grateful to a lot of people who supported me when it's been very tough times. There's that old Eric Clapton song, "Nobody knows you when you're down and out," and I've certainly had some down and out political times, but actually some people do know you, and those family, those close supporters, volunteers and staff, a group of people that I'm so grateful to.
For those, for quite a few years, you're sort of a one-man band in Parliament. Do you ever think you'd be standing here today as Deputy Prime Minister?
No, I remember Chris Finlayson very kindly took me out to dinner as a new MP 10 years ago, and he said, one day you'll be the Deputy Prime Minister. And I didn't just not think it would happen, I thought it was totally ridiculous. So thank you, Chris Finlayson. You were right about something, and actually something good.
What do you make of Chris Bishop's comments at the AMAs when he said that the performance by Stan Walker was a load of crap?
Well, I didn't see the Stan Walker performance, so I can't really judge, but I've known Chris Bishop for 10 years. He's a pretty moderate sort of guy on most things, so my first inclination is maybe he's right.
Should he have made those comments in a public forum?
Well, it depends what he was looking at. It may well be that a lot of people agree with him, but I haven't seen the performance. This was at the Aotearoa Music Awards, was it? Look, without knowing anything more about it, some performances aren't that great, and sometimes you've got to express yourself.
Is it possible that Mr. Bishop was a little bit tired and emotional when he said what he said?
No, I mean, Chris is one of the hardest working people I know. He's got one young boy and another young girl who's come along very recently. So he puts in huge hours, but I wouldn't put any innuendo around that.
Have they overshadowed your big day?
No, because only the people watching your newscast or reading your news can decide that, and I suspect that there'll be people who think that Bish was absolutely right, people who think he was wrong, people who don't care. Each person will make up their own mind.
Those comments were made in reference to a performance by Stan Walker in which Tino Rangatira flags were flown, as with the Toitū Te Tiriti sign was flown. Do you think that's representative of the comments of the coalition government in general?
Well, no, the way that you've presented it, I don't agree with. But nonetheless, as I said, I didn't actually see the performance. I don't know what he was referring to, but I also believe that we shouldn't be so concerned about people expressing a view. People express all sorts of views about art. That's why they call them art critics, and I actually don't think it's a big problem. There are people who make all sorts of outlandish statements, and any time that people want to start reporting all of them with equal judgment and critique, I'll be right there. I might even subscribe.
We saw big protests earlier this year regarding the Treaty Principles Bill. A lot of people did feel that was divisive. I know you pushed back against that. But what would you say to New Zealanders who are looking at you becoming the Deputy Prime Minister today, who might be worried that you would be divisive? What would be your message to them?
All all I've ever done is reveal division that exists by championing equal rights. My statements that we are all born equal human beings with hopes and dreams seems to really rile some people who believe they should have different rights based on aspects of themselves that nobody, including them, could change. If that is divisive, well, sure, but I don't think it is.
As Deputy Prime Minister, do you see your role as a politician changing at all? I mean, obviously you'll be speaking, answering questions on behalf of the Prime Minister in the House. Do you see other kind of areas where you'll be changing or doing things differently at all?
Look, like all politicians in an MMP environment, I have a duty right here to the Epsom electorate, to the ACT Party, and to the public offices I hold, and I intend to serve all of those roles to the utmost of my ability, just like I have to date. I just have one more role, and I'll take that one perhaps the most seriously.
Is it appropriate for Minister Bishop to express these views in this way at an award show specifically celebrating New Zealand artists and their free expression?
Well, I guess if you're celebrating free expression, then yes, it is appropriate.
He's a senior minister. Is that appropriate for a senior minister to act like that in public?
Well, just because you become a senior minister, that doesn't mean you should stop having opinions, and it might well be that based on what Chris saw in that moment, he was correct. It may be that people will agree with him, but here's the thing. It's actually, in a democracy, up to the people to decide what they think of politicians. I'm another politician. I don't actually vote for the National Party, as maybe a surprise to you. So people who do want to make that choice need to evaluate for themselves.
Don McGlashan, he stood up and he called Chris Bishop, and excuse my language, he called him a dickhead. What do you make of that?
Well, look, I'm a huge fan of Don McGlashan. But one of the things I find is that most of the musicians I most admire for their art, I don't actually agree with their politics. In my speech tomorrow, I'm going to quote Mark Knopfler. Mark Knopfler is a terrible, terrible lefty. I hear he has a subscription to The Guardian, and yet I still listen to him.
Who did you bring with you today?
I brought my dad, my fiance, my two brothers, my niece Tori, who is always writing to me through. I get specially marked emails from my secretary saying, "Your niece has written again," and she sometimes challenges me on public policy. For example, she was having an argument with my sister-in-law, her mum, about whether she could work, and actually forced me to look up the labour laws, and it turns out it is legal for her to work. So I'm not a particularly popular brother-in-law, but I am maintaining a good relationship with my niece as she learns a lot about public policy. I think she was really thrilled to be here today. To be honest, she's only 12, so I think she was a bit overwhelmed by it all. She didn't say much, but she's a smart cookie, and I'm sure she'll remember it well.
You said one more question.
Yes.
You said earlier that you were going to be a bit quirky. That does sound a tiny bit ominous. Any thoughts on what you're going to be in your quirkiness?
Well, the great thing about quirkiness is it's spontaneous. It sometimes just happens. So no, you certainly can't. Anyone that plans to be quirky is, to quote Don McGlashan, a bit of a dickhead. But sometimes if you just be yourself, that's what you get.